I can't believe they're going to make me leave. They're going to make me walk away from all this money. I can't believe that. Can we not just write one good storyline? Can we not write one good promo? Does everything have to be fucking stupid?
Jon Moxley is set to create history in AEW due to his exceptional wrestling skills, fierce determination, and fearless attitude. His participation in extreme matches and ability to entertain fans make him a standout wrestler, poised to leave a lasting mark in AEW's storied history.
Everyone's attention to something Jon Moxley said. He said, everyone believes in you, Orange Cassidy. Don't let us down.
Jon Moxley vs. Joel Janella at Fyter Festival 2019. In 2019, during the Fyter Fest event, there was a wrestling match between Jon Moxley and Joey Janella. What made this match special is that it was what they call a lights-out match. In this type of match, there are no rules, which means anything goes, and it can get really intense. Now, that might sound really painful, and it was. Wrestlers are tough and brave to do these kind of matches. But here's a really surprising part. They even use a fake leg as a weapon. Can you believe it? It's not something you see every day in wrestling. This match showed just how extreme AEW All Elite Wrestling can be. It was one of the first times fans got to see how wild and intense AEW matches could get. Fans love these kind of matches because they are thrilling and full of surprises. It's like watching an action movie, but it's happening right in front of a wrestling ring. So when you hear about a lights-out match, you know it's going to be something really special and maybe a bit crazy. Kenny Omega vs. Jon Moxley at Full Gear 2019. There was a major showdown between two famous wrestlers, Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, at a wrestling event called Full Gear. This match was quite special because it was what they called a lights-out match, which means there were no rules and it got really wild and intense. During this match, both wrestlers did some extreme and dangerous things to each other. They used items like broken glass, mousetraps, and even a screwdriver as weapons. This might sound wild, but in the world of wrestling, it's a way of them to entertain fans and prove how tough they are. The fight was tough and violent, with both Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley showing incredible resilience and determination. They didn't hold back and gave it their all to win. This kind of match isn't for the faint of heart, as it can get pretty brutal. But it's what some fans love to watch because of the excitement and sheer toughness of the wrestlers involved. Jon Moxley vs. Kenny Omega at Revolution 2021. A year after their first intense battle, Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega face off again in a match that took extreme to a whole new level. This time, they had something called an exploding barbed wire death match. In this kind of match, they used barbed wire, which is a type of wire with sharp spikes and explosives inside the wrestling ring. The idea was that there would be a big, dramatic explosion at the end of the match to make it even more intense. But here's the sad part. When it was time for the big explosion, it didn't work as everyone expected. This was a bit disappointing, but it didn't take away from the fact that the rest of the match was incredibly intense and filled with many smaller explosions. Throughout the match, you could see the wrestlers getting hurt by the barbed wire and smaller explosions. It was a tough and dangerous fight, with both Moxley and Omega showing just how tough they are. Even without the big explosion at the end, the match was still full of excitement and kept fans on the edge of their seats. So, despite the disappointment of the final explosion, the exploding barbed wire death match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega was a wild and memorable wrestling spectacle with plenty of explosions and intensity. Britt Baker vs. Thunder Rosa at St. Patrick's Day Slam 2021. In 2021, there was a very important wrestling match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. This match was called a lights out match, and it was a big deal because it was the first time in AEW history that women were the main event of a match like this. Now, let me explain what a lights out match is. It's a type of wrestling match where there are no rules and anything goes. This means the wrestlers can use any weapons they want, and there are no limits to how tough the match can be. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa took full advantage of this. They used all kinds of weapons just like the men do in similar matches. This included things like chairs, tables, and even thumbstacks. It was very intense and a violent match, but women showed incredible toughness and determination. What made this match even more special was that it was very bloody. Both Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa were bleeding during the match because of the harshness of the fight. This added to the drama and intensity of the contest. Fans were excited and impressed by this match because it proved that women in wrestling can be just as tough and hardcore as men. It was a historic moment for AEW, and it showed that women's wrestling is a force to be reckoned with. Best Friends vs. Santana and Ortiz in a parking lot brawl. The match between Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz took place in a parking lot, and it turned into something wild and unpredictable. Imagine a wrestling ring surrounded by cars and other objects. That's where they fought. It was almost like watching a scene from an action movie, but the action was real wrestling. In this match, they didn't just use their wrestling skills, they used everything around them as weapons. They slammed each other onto car hoods, roofs, and windshields. It was like a real-life stunt show, with wrestlers taking painful falls on hard and unforgiving surfaces. What made this match stand out was that the way that they used the surroundings to create excitement. You might think of a parking lot as a boring place, but in this match, it became an arena for chaos and mayhem. They also use objects you wouldn't expect to see in regular wrestling match, like trash cans and other items you might find in a parking lot. It added an element of surprise and danger to the match, keeping fans on the edge of their seats. So while it may have started as a regular wrestling match, the parking lot setting turned it into an unforgettable and thrilling spectacle. It was a reminder that in the world of professional wrestling, anything can become a battleground for intense and entertaining showdowns. Chris Jericho vs Nick Gage at Fight for the Fallen 2021. The match between Chris Jericho and Nick Gage was quite unexpected. Chris Jericho is a well-known wrestler, while Nick Gage is famous for his extreme and dangerous matches. In this fight, they went to great lengths to entertain the fans. They used unusual weapons like pizza cutters, Ducatis, and even light tubes, which are not typically seen in regular wrestling matches. This match was a blend of Jericho's mainstream fame and Gage's reputation for hardcore wrestling, making it a unique and surprising showdown that fans talked about for a long time. Cory Rhodes vs Andr El Idolo. Cory Rhodes and Andr El Idolo had a match where they had something very risky. Cody jumped onto a table that was on fire. It was very dangerous and must have hurt a lot. This moment made the match even more exciting and intense. Tay Conti and Anna Jay vs the Bunny and Penelope Ford at New Year's Smash Rampage. During this match, two teams of women wrestled very intensely. They didn't hold back and used things like barbed wire and thumbtacks as weapons. This match was important because it proved that women in wrestling can be just as strong and fierce as men. It showed that they can handle extreme and brutal matches just like male wrestlers do, breaking stereotypes and earning respect from fans for their dedication to the sport. Blood and Guts 2022. The Blood and Guts 2022 match was a massive battle with many wrestlers inside a cage. They didn't hold back and used weapons to hurt each other. The most memorable moment was when Eddie Kingston threw Sammy Guevara off the cage. It was a shocking and very risky move that had everyone on the edge of their seats. This match had lots of action and moments that made fans gasp in amazement and concern for the wrestler's safety. Kenny Omega vs Joey Janella on AEW Dark. Kenny Omega and Joey Janella had another intense match. They used chairs and other objects to hurt each other. What made this match special were two big moves. Janella being slammed onto chairs and Omega using a tough move on an unyielding chair. These matches show that AEW isn't afraid to have a very violent and extreme matches. They use a lot of weapons and take big risks to entertain the fans. Wrestling fans love these matches because they are exciting and intense. Jon Moxley and AEW wrestlers have engaged in some of wrestling's most intense matches. These hardcore bouts, like lights out clashes, are infamous for the brutality and use of unconventional weapons. These contests not only entertain but also underline the fearless spirit of AEW wrestlers regardless of gender. From barbed wire death matches to parking lot brawls, AEW consistently pushes the boundaries of wrestling violence, delivering unforgettable moments and demonstrating their readiness to take the risk for thrilling entertainment. For more such videos, like, share and subscribe to the channel.